conceptually how the story was put together and how you start off grounded right on the earth, and the more and more the film progresses, the farther and farther you get away from not only earth but reality in general. And was that something that you knew going in right away, or was that something that you guys developed together and this is kind of the direction? Because I know the ending is gets very subjective in a sense, and just wondering kind of if you could talk about your thoughts on that.
It's definitely a big part of it. You know, sort of this idea of you know, having like our interaction, yours and my interaction, being what grounds me as a person, you know, connections and the people that we know and love and have feelings for or dislike or whatever. All those feelings are what make us a human being. So if you don't have somebody to bounce that off of, then you potentially have nobody proving to yourself that even you exist. So his reality just continually gets warped further and further as that concept of connection slips away from him. And so that's why the film really starts to sort of break up literally towards the end. So,
Tom, did you have any say in this, since this is based off some of your music?
Yeah, you know, the way we worked with Will was, I think instantly Will became a guy that was, I grew up with Mark, number one. So I've known Mark since I was really young, and we had a whole group of friends, and Dave Kennedy, that's in the band as well. That's why Mark has always been working with Angels and Airwaves, and whenever we find somebody that we click with, they become part of our gang pretty quickly, and Will was one. So when we met Will, he's instantly, he's a part of our clan, and I think he learned really quickly what our band was about and what we're trying to do. So the way I've always worked as an individual with people that I work with, like Mark, if they know you and they know where you're coming from, then you only really need to set the tone on a macro kind of level. And with Will, that's totally how it was. Like, hey, this is what we care about. This is what we want the film to feel like, and this is what we want the message to be, and how do those things resonate with you. And other than that, there's not much that you need to do. I think over the years, as we were all learning together, I mean, Will is extraordinarily talented, but this, I think, is his, it's his first major film. He shot a couple films as well. During the course of making this, I think everyone was on a bit of a learning curve, and even Mark came in and had some things to say, and we would have these conversations every few months, and we would try and just brainstorm how we can complete the task with such little resources. But when it comes down to like the things that you ask when you watch a movie, when it comes down to like, okay, questions about the reality of what the character's feeling and all that, the microcosms of the story, that's Will, I didn't get in there and say, hey, I want him to contemplate, to wear really good looking shorts. No, that was like my only comment. I'm always like, what's he wearing, But it's, when the character wants to commit suicide, when the character is reliving through these journal, but everything, there's like he did that, like he laid, on the floor drawing those pictures and those notes and the sets, so it's,
but that said, not to interrupt you, but we all know how Tom is and how he has a lot of like big, obviously huge ideas and philosophies and things like that. I was working on a film called Crave, it was just another sort of long process out in Detroit, and I remember I'd be on the phone in the Doubletree with Tom, and he would be telling me about some sort of alternate reality crystal that he was, reading about. So there's a lot of, philosophy stuff just jumping back and forth, and a lot of that stuff does influence certain things that do happen in the film, whether he said to do it or not. It's like part of sort of the bigger process.
I think that's for sure. I think we both, Will and I, we really communicate about some deep things very easily. So I think,
aliens.
A few of them, but just in general, and just who we are as human beings and what we're doing here, and what our reality really is, and what our purpose is, and those types of conversations obviously, make their way into the story. And the other thing, you didn't ask, but before we go to the audience or whatever, Gunner, do you guys know it was? You were up there, you mentioned it when you were just saying by yourself, like there's no actors to feed off of, it's like, chances are he's sitting like literally, and this is what's so cool about this, it's like, you guys don't even know that space station's in a driveway and it's freezing outside, and it might just be Will and Gunner and maybe Mark off to the side, maybe one other guy if you're lucky, I mean, you were telling me stories where literally these fuckers are outside with like sheets over them because the flies and the mosquitoes and stuff. Like crazy, just crazy stories of trying to brave the elements out in Santa Barbara County. Because usually you do that stuff inside of a building where there's air conditioning and there's catering and there's dressing rooms and all those types of things. But you know, for you to handle what you did in there, and I was so excited to see, because I haven't seen Gunner for a long time, but it's just really awesome, man. And I think the performance that you gave, and having to carry the whole thing by yourself, you know, it's great.
It is amazing.
Thank you so much.
Seriously, appreciate it. And it's a collective, you know, it's not one person. And there was certain, your creativity, I mean, in some ways you kind of feel like, okay, I'm going to play Madison Square Garden by myself, a cappella. Great. You know, but Will was in some ways my co-star, and a lot of Mark and a lot of these guys on set, because, I mean, we had such a trust and there was a lot of time. We weren't pressured in some of these serious moments to where we just roll camera. And Will would feed me something or maybe an idea, and I'd go, yeah, and I felt so comfortable, so relaxed. And by that time I was really into this guy's head that just sometimes magic things would happen, whether we could capture it or not. That was pretty special.
All right, let's get some questions.
We don't know, and that's the beauty. It's so avant-garde, we don't even know what's going on. You know, I think, I'll say this straight up, I think, I've always tried to tell people about this film that it's an art piece, and from our band's point of view, we wanted to be able to merge the music industry and the film industry, and when that happens, you have so much more latitude to do things creatively and how you want to. And we're not stuck with the normal rhythm that the movie industry is stuck with. I think for certain people, they'll grab different things out of it. I think for certain people, they don't watch films like this to begin with, so they're kind of like, where's the big fucking robots fighting each other? You know? But for us, I find it I find it different than you, because when I saw it, and I knew what was going into it, but we have 150 hours of footage, 150 hours. So when you try to assemble 90 minutes out of that, it could come across 1,000 different ways. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have been on YouTube where you watch like movie trailers where they rescored the dialogue and the music, and they made a horror movie out of like the Lion King cartoon, you know? But you can do that with film. So even I didn't totally know how it was going to come off until it was done. And I think that if you go into this with an open mind and you follow the story of an individual being lost by it, and learning how important it is to have communication and to have people around you and to have your life live through them. If you watch somebody by himself having to earn that, then you can take a lot of different things from it. But that's really what it's all about.
Well, what's the connection to the Civil War?
Well, we can't tell you that. It's a secret.
I know that the previous release date for Love Part 2 was in March, but I heard that it got pushed back. So when can we...
Oh yeah, so in my style, because I'm really good at this, I've mentioned a couple release dates for this, because what we thought originally, to be honest, before everyone started seeing the film, is that we were going to tour it ourselves, and we were going to release it in theaters on our own accord, and we were going to start on Valentine's Day to keep up with the cool theme, right, that we did a year ago with the record. But once people start seeing it and they're saying, hold on, this is good, you know, and then the film festival called, and then we actually got people involved from Los Angeles that know the film industry, not just us guessing down in San Diego. It changed the whole plan completely. So the plan as it is now is we're going to let the film do what it needs to do at film festivals, and finish the double record and have everything come out in fall. That's subject to change too, as soon as someone calls me and tells me anything different. So.
And
think one of your biggest critics back there may have just given you the biggest compliment, saying that you are in the same vein as 2001 or Solaris or Sunshine or anything like that.
Thank you.
That's totally the feeling that I got, my second time seeing the movie. I can pick out scenes and go, wow, I can connect with that, through other films. And like I said, if you get 100 critics saying those sorts of things, that's the biggest compliment you can have.
Well, we just thank you.
Thank you very much.
We want people to talk, Like we want
people to go home and go, what the heck was that? Where?
If you're being compared to Kubrick, you're doing something right.
No,
That's not a bad thing to compare to. We're being contacted.
There you go.
All right. Being stared at. But thank you so much. And we got a lot of comparisons like that, and that's cool. I think.
Honestly, that's very humbling for people to say that. But I am hoping that people watch this film and watch it again and try to pick up certain parallels, certain metaphors. I feel like there's, we took some interesting choices in terms of like literally sometimes spelling exact things out with the interviews and certain things. And then, there's some parts where you're like, okay, how the heck could that journal have gotten there and all these other things. And honestly, I'm hoping as people get into it further and further, they're able to study certain details that might totally explain that. Like, I think, a big key to the whole entire story and how certain things are happening, it's all kind of unraveling really quickly towards the end when he opens the book that says a love story, and it's sort of showing hints and things like that. But we're hoping that people sort of think about it and go and think that it's maybe, that was confusing, but it's beautiful enough to watch again and maybe start to understand some of the themes and what's going on. So.
It's funny, I always say this, Bob Dylan used to say when he wrote a song, he would never tell people what the song was about. Specifically so, you can take something from that, because if someone defines it for you completely, then there's not much fun in that kind of transition from the artist to the fan of the art. So I love the fact about that it turned out in such a way that people can have different interpretations of it, and it's such a great thing. I remember it's like when we all saw that movie Inception, and you go back and go, were they in a dream or were they not? That thing's spinning, that's what you want, well, I don't know, I loved it.
Basically from Act 3 on, that's where you start to sort of like, really question a lot of things. But, there's a lot of thematic themes that we were sort of attacking, and I hope that people somehow pick those up if they like the film enough to watch it again or whatever.
Any other questions?